Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine. Hello, hello, hello. It's Nancy Maddox from Little Rock, Arkansas, broadcasting today from Charlotte, North Carolina on WYTV7 as well as iHeartRadio. I'm so excited for our interview today. We have a very, very delightful guest today that we're going to interview that's going to share a lot of information with us. Her testimony is absolutely fantastic. She is a true survivor and a God's success story, and it's going to be so exciting. She's a woman business owner. She founded her own business, IT professional, which is really good. She could probably give us some hints on that, as well as a single mother of a son that's about to be a college graduate, and that's very exciting. Her name is Miss Crystal Rice. She's from Greenville, South Carolina, and I would just like to say that we are broadcasting through WYTV7 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are a nonprofit, so we do take donations and seeds, and what we do with our donations at WYTV7 is we use it to promote our shows and to get them on international exposure, so we're really excited about that. And without further ado, I think I'll just start. I said you were from Greenville, South Carolina. Is that where you were born, Miss Crystal?
That is. I am born and raised from Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay, and so you've lived there all your life?
I have. I am, like I said, I'm a native of Greenville, South Carolina. Lived here all my life. Spent a little bit of time in Atlanta, Georgia. I am the third child of four, my parents. I'm the number 3 out of 4. I'm right here from Greenville, South Carolina. Went to school here, graduated from Southside High School as an honor student. And so this is home to me.
Well, you had a tough time, didn't you? You had a tough time from the time you've been born, really until now, but you've survived so much. I want you to just share a little bit about your history and your story. That I read in your bio, and very interesting. You're just a survivor, and God has blessed you time and time again, and now you're blessing people, so it's awesome.
Okay, I was born in 1978. I was actually born premature, and as you know, technology, medical technology then is not what we know it to be now. My mom, being that I was her third child, she ended up having a car accident which threw her into labor. So she walked around the house for 2 to 3 weeks with her water broke, and which could be very, very dangerous. So she goes to the hospital, and her doctor had delivered my brother and my sister. And so he told the nurse, he said, don't touch her. If she lets you know something's wrong, listen to her. This is her third baby. So she started beginning to feel pressure. And at this time, she was only about 6.5 months pregnant, almost 7 months. So not quite 7 months pregnant. And she told the nurse, she said, something's going on. And the nurse is like, yeah, you're fine. She said, no, something's going on. So my dad looks down, and there goes a baby, not breathing, clinically dead, no life, nothing. So basically, I was a stillborn. So as the story goes, according to my parents, the doctor comes in. He's ecstatic. He's of course just frantic. And she had to see them. Now, mind you, I'm premature, so I'm only about 3 pounds 12 ounces. And she saw them throw me on the gurney and literally take his fist and beat breath into me with his fist. So can you imagine a rag doll being beat with somebody's fist? So I went with oxygen for so long, of course, to my brain. Things were unknown. My development was unknown. But glory be to God, the only thing I did late was walk. And she said when I started walking at 18 months, I was running, trying to catch up with everybody else. Surprisingly to the doctors, by the time I was in 3rd grade, I was reading on a 5th grade level. By the time I got to 8th grade, I was already taking high school courses. And so going right along in high school, being an honor student, then, according to, society, the thing happened, and I became pregnant with my son at 15 and a half, 16. And despite that, I was an honor student, finished top 25% of my class. and had my first degree by the time I was 20, and he was almost 4. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with a word that most people are not familiar with. It's called endometriosis. And endometriosis is a disease. I say it's a disease. It's a disease to the body. It is when a woman's endometrium tears away from her uterus and it begins to attach itself to different organs of the body. It is very, very painful. There is no known medical cure for it. I had one of the worst cases they had seen. So by the time I was 26 years old, I began to clot at work after several months of treatment, just for the purpose of satisfying insurance. Had a very awesome team of doctors, and on my 26th birthday, I had to have a part of my reproductive system removed. They would not do all of it because of my age. And then 2.5 years later, I'm back in the hospital again, you know, having issues, having problems. 2.5 years later, 2009, I had my last surgery. But while recovering, I ended up back in the hospital with an obstructed bowel. Because if you know anything about endometriosis, it can attach to your intestines. And when they do surgeries, although they're outpatient, there's laser. So I had so many surgeries, it tore my intestines. I had a tear in my intestines. And so at that point, my doctor is like, we've got to treat this like diabetes. There's 1%, and there's several different myths, Ms. Maddox, about endometriosis. Oh, once you have the hysterectomy, you're cured. You won't have any more problems. That's not the case, because if it attaches itself to other vital organs, then it's lived there. That means it has a nest there, so it can essentially come back. It was found in my kidneys. It was found in my liver. My uterus was 3 times the normal size, as well as my kidneys were fused together with endometrial clusters in between it. So I'm a testimony, because my pain would be so severe, but I would still go to work every day. I would still take care of my son every day. And there are a lot of women who cannot work. Marriage is in. A lot of them don't get married because it's just you have no quality of life. I'm not on any, as of today, I'm not on any of the Lupron shots. I'm not on any of the narcotic medications that most women have to be on just to survive. And so that's what brings me to present day. So I understand and I realize I am a 14-year survivor in endometriosis, which, if you look at statistics, 6.3 million women suffer with endometriosis, which is more than women with breast cancer.
My goodness, that's amazing. That's an amazing testimony. Well, you've given me a lot to think about and a lot of questions that I want to ask. I appreciate your testimony so much. And I do want to talk a little bit more about endometriosis. It's something that we really need to talk more about. And since this show will be aired internationally, I want to include in the title something that's catchy about endometriosis, because that will have people, the millions of people that have it, to take a look at it. I mean, I'm just amazed by what you said. I mean, I guess I too believe the fallacy that if I had a hysterectomy, that I would be rid of endometriosis. So that simply is not true. Wow.
It is not true.
Well, let's go back to when you were a little girl. It says that you didn't walk until you were 18 months old, and that's probably because of the immaturity, and you had 2 eye surgeries, and that you were reading on a 5th grade level by the time you were in 3rd grade. So you are a walking miracle. You're really a walking God's success, is what I'm saying. So were the doctors surprised when
they were happening? They were surprised, and of course I was so young, but I can remember hitting different milestones and going for checkups and just remembering like the smiles on their faces. And of course I didn't understand why until I got to be about in around the 3rd or the 5th grade. You know, every teacher conference, my mom, my parents would be just so elated. You know, it's like, okay, my mama has a conference today. And a lot of times my grandmother, my father's mother, would watch me while my mom went to these conferences, and she would come in the door, well, your teacher said you're reading on the 5th grade level. So I just remember my family being celebratory at various milestones in my life, because looking at where I had come from, you know, it was just so many unknowns. To have 2 eye surgeries back then, by the time you're 14 to 16 months, is detrimental. Another thing that happened was I have a very, very small nose, as you can see. But what happened was when I was in the NICU, they did not change out my tubing properly. So this side of my nose grew in the shape of the tubing. So it's always been a little bit smaller than the other side. But after I had my hysterectomy, the first portion, my son, he began to tell my grandmother, Grandma, when she's sleeping, she's not breathing. And so sleep apnea is kind of hereditary. So I said, well, I'll go take a sleep test. And I went and took the sleep test, and the ENT specialist, he said, you don't have sleep apnea, but your breathing pattern is more irregular than somebody with sleep apnea. And he said, I really don't even understand how you're sitting here breathing in front of me. And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean? And he was like, because on that right side, you don't even have a nostril. All you have is what we see. Now, mind you, this is almost 30 years later, because I'm 26, 27 then. And he said, it's a wonder you don't have, because I was like, I feel faint. And he was like, well, that's because you're breathing, trying to catch up. Your heart rate's elevated. I was just fatigued. He said, but you don't have any congestive heart failure. You don't have any heart problems, which surprised him because you've been living 26, 27 years like this. You don't have a nostril. So what he did, he had to take cartilage from my ear. And what you see, he built that. So, and I'm walking around basically with one nostril all my life and didn't even realize it. So that was another like, okay, you have a purpose for my life, because not even realizing I'm walking around, and according to science, I should have all these other issues that I don't have.
Goodness gracious. Oh, my word. Well, that's just so interesting. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone that's had as many issues as you have and has such a beautiful spirit about it. Wow. God is just awesome. God is blessing you so much. I want to talk a little bit about your son. And, well, first of all, it said you got 3 college degrees while you were raising your son as a single mother.
Yes,
so when you went to college, you went to college early because you were so smart, and then you got 3 college degrees, right?
I actually graduated. I could have graduated early, but I decided to graduate with my class in '96, and he was actually 2 when I graduated from high school. And my goal before my son was to become an aerospace engineer. And so back then, the only school was in Kentucky. Well, my mom practically been a single parent. My dad was in the military. The monies were not available for that. And so the agreement was, okay, so you put yourself in an adult position. So you're going to finish high school, because I come from a family of educators. My grandmother was a teacher. So to quit school, that was not an option. And so not to get a secondary education, that was not an option. So I opted for a local school, ITT Technical Institute, and I took up the next best corresponding coursework, which was electronics engineering technology, which was different from back then. It was maybe like 3 or 4 women in my class. And from that, I started working in corporate America once I finished, and I got into technical support, telecommunications. And then I let my son get to a certain point in school, because just being a single parent, it was difficult. And then his own gifts began to develop. He was playing sports, he was singing, he was praise dancing at church. So literally, when he got to be middle school, high school, I started my 2nd degree. And that only took me like a year and a half. And then right after that, my last degree, I started in 2012, which was his senior year in high school. So we were raised, okay, I'm going to beat you. So, I'm like, I got 3 degrees and you still working on your undergrad. So we kind of joke about it. But yeah, I obtained 3 degrees. And in my field, you kind of have to keep going back to school to kind of stay up on what's going on in the industry and to kind of get promoted. So yeah, that was my goal, is to get my master's, possibly my doctorate. I don't know yet. I'm still torn with that. I don't know. I'm like, I've got 3 degrees. That's enough. So I don't know yet. I don't know what the Lord gonna say.
Well, trust me, I'm sure you'll get both. It won't take you very long. So your son's getting ready to graduate from college.
We are praying. He was supposed to graduate in 2016. His course was 5.5 years. Then he decided to pick up a minor. So he's a music production major with a minor in communications. But to be honest with you, in 2015, We didn't know what that was going to be, because on my mom's birthday, July 25th, I was packing to go to a Mary Kay conference. I'm in business with Mary Kay as well. And I get a call from his girlfriend at the time, and she asked me had I talked to him, and I told her yes. And I said I talked to him early that morning, which on a Saturday, that was very odd. And she said, oh, okay. She said because he was delivering pizzas, he was working, and his fraternity brother saw a car that had been hit that looked just like his car. She said, so I don't even know if he's dead or alive. So here I am packing to go to Dallas, and I called my brother, who was a police officer at the time, and I said, we've got to go to Florence. And his girlfriend at the time, she was from Florence, thank God, and she said, well, and he's a germaphobe, so there's only one that he would go to. And so she got to the hospital. I don't know what she said, but for my sake, she got in that triage room. She said she told him he's an only child. He has no family here. I've got to tell his mom, at least is he living or dead? And because I had gotten a picture of the car in the meantime. So I'm not knowing what state he was in. Somebody had his cell phone. I'm seeing a picture of the car. It was a 2012 compact Kia, and he's a 5'9", 180-pound guy. So I get to Florence, and when I walk in the triage, I'm looking at him, see any, evidence that he's been in a car accident. Only his knee was busted open. And the nurse, before I got there, she said, he looks beautiful to him, but we have not assessed him yet. And I'm telling you, it's by the grace of God that he's here. So when I walked in and heard him say, Mama, I think out of 20 years, because he wasn't even 21 yet, that was the best mama I had ever heard. So that threw him back, because he tore his abdominal wall. He could not walk. He could not go to the bathroom. So I spent 3 months in Florence, and he had to take a semester off. So one semester for his program threw him a year and a half behind. So we're working on 2018 being it.
Wow. So you not only are you one of God's children, so is he. God's protecting him.
Yes.
Also, I want to talk a little bit. Let's see. We have a few more minutes. I want to talk a little bit about your business. Your business that you founded, New Dimension Business Services and Consulting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What started that and what that's all about?
That started actually about 9 years ago. I started, for whatever reason, the company that I work for, you could kind of move up internally, and you would always have to keep your resume, up to par. And so they would have webinars on how to do a perfect resume and things like that. So I started, doing resumes for family members, and they started getting jobs. And then friends of mine who worked in the recruiting industry, they would send people to me who needed their resume doctored up. So I kind of did that for a while, did some resumes for some church members, and if people need a resume done, they don't have a job. So it's basically being done out of the goodness of my heart. So I came up with the name, got my EIN number, and I didn't do anything with it. And over the years, I've kind of played with the name and different things like that. But recently, I was laid off my job, and from corporate America. And I said, Lord, what is my next step? Well, I sell Mary Kay. I'm in business for myself with Mary Kay. And at church, I am in several positions where I help different ministry leaders come up with different ideas. And I kind of do that off the cuff. It's a gift. And one of my friends at church said, Crystal, people get paid for consulting. They really do. And I thought, And she said, she called me, and she has her own piano studio. And she said, I want to add event planning. And so I said, give me a second. So before I lost my job. And so I came up with a name just off the cuff, and it stuck, and she's doing well. And that's when she said, you really need to consider taking this and doing something with it. And so I reactivated my EIN number, kind of got it active, and getting situated with the Secretary of State. And then the consulting piece, I do have a client, which is how we met. And he's doing great things. So it's kind of project management. And then the services are my Mary Kay. I'm a freelance makeup artist. And then I have a health and wellness piece global. So that's how New Dimension Business Services and Consulting came about. And right now, my market customer seems to be that small business owner who just needs help structuring their projects and meeting their deadlines.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. Yes, ma'am. I do the same thing. I have Shine Your Light consulting, and I do the same thing. And I didn't tell you what Shine Your Light is all about. But Shine Your Light is not to shine my light, but it's to reach people like you and get them on the international marketplace so they can shine their light. So my hope and my prayer is that everyone that I interview on my show will get some more exposure than they would have gotten before. And so I like it when you talk about your new dimensions,
Yes.
because everyone that's listening, I hope you get more clients for that. That's what this show is all about. It's powered by God, and it's a God-given thing because God gave it to me. And so I'm praying that you'll get more business and get more exposure by being on this show, and I know you will. So on the consulting, you're helping small businesses with business plans and logos and and names and things like that.
Kind of brainstorming. It's a collective of brainstorming. I help them brainstorm. It's not quite the virtual assistant. I had somebody ask me, I will help you do the documentation, but that gets, because I do documentation by trade. That's kind of what I've done in the industry of technology. But just basically helping you say you need to keep these deadlines, because sometimes as a small business owner, we'll have several projects going on at one time, and you can get so bogged down till you don't know what to touch first. So then I sit down, I help you prioritize. I help say, okay, kind of just look at everything piece by piece, because that's how you're successful. That's how I do each one of my intricate of my businesses. I say, okay, today I'm working on this. Well, I need to do a deadline by this. And then, as you know, when you work in the ministry and church, that's work. So I have projects and things that I have to brainstorm for church as well. And they kind of work hand in hand. I can be working with a client, and then God will give me something for my church, because I feel like everything goes back to the kingdom. Everything we do can circle around and be used for the kingdom, for the upbuilding of God's kingdom. So I kind of just, one of my clients, we did a statement of work, which divvies out what you need for me to do, what your projects are. He signed off on it in July, and by August, he was almost 30 days ahead, where he was 45 days behind.
Wow.
And so we're working, trying to it just takes somebody keeping you accountable. And that's what I help the small business owner do, be accountable, especially those who work full time and then trying to run their business part time.
Yes, ma'am. That's very important. Entrepreneurs and small business owners, they have a tendency to get overwhelmed, and they need just someone to kind of keep them on track and keep track of everything. And your IT knowledge as project management will really help with that. So that's great. I want to switch gears just a little bit, and I'd like for you to tell me what God did to help you reach where you are. And this is a really important question that I ask every one of my guests. I'm always interested to know, in your opinion, what God did for you.
God, I know people say this all the time, He saved me. And when I say saved me, I mean physically. Because just based on my testimony, He has had His hand on me, because anybody else, when I've read statistics, when I've talked to my doctors, we say this with a cliche, I could have been dead and gone. And for me, I think about that, because I could have not even been here. I came into the world lifeless. And so that He has shown me through my own life. I think sometimes the enemy will have us think, I know for me, oh, your life is just typical. Your story of having a baby, persevering, going to college, that's typical. Anybody can do that. And then recently He's dealt with me within recent years and said, well, if it was typical, it wouldn't be your testimony. It's not typical, because He made us each different. Our stories are different. Our journeys are different. Our walks with Him are different. So therefore, it's not typical. It can bless somebody. And so me coming out and speaking out now is Him working on me for the past, since 2012. Actually putting me in front of women, being a Mary Kay consultant, because we believe in God first, family second, and career third. And what I've realized is that we all have a story to tell. And no matter how insignificant the enemy will try to make you feel your story is, that's a lie. And just my story has been relatable to so many different women that I didn't even know, because I sat quiet. I'm generally a quiet person. You have to get to know me and be in my circle. But he has put me in a position for such a time as this where it's time to speak out, because your testimony can bless somebody. Because we know when we live for Christ, the life we live is not our own, just like the life he lived was not his own. He died for us.
That's exactly right. And what I found is that people want to hear real talk, just like this endometriosis information. People that have that want to hear from a real person that's really experienced it, because you don't know what's going on. And a lot of times they can't even diagnose it. So that kind of stuff, and even your story of being a single mom, I mean, I think that there are no typical stories. Everybody's story is a story that needs to be relayed, because there's other people that are going through the same thing that just need to hear that real talk. Have you ever considered writing a book?
Oh man, you're the third person that has asked me that within the past 3 weeks. I thought about it. I do have a gift of writing. I used to write all the time, have a gift of creative writing, and I was on the forensics debate team, dramatic imitation. So I don't know.
Oh my
I don't know. It keeps coming around.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to write a book about your story, and then when you speak to people, and you you go to conferences and you speak to other women at churches or whatever, your book will be your calling card, and it'll be another stream of income for you. But you really do need to consider that, and because people want to read. What they want to do is they want to hear the words from you. They want to hear the real talk. And then they want to take home something so they can recall and read what's happened and read your story. So it really is important to have that. I'm very much an advocate of that. Out of all your accomplishments, I think I know which one's the greatest, but what do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment is, and I'm being transparent, is that I can stand with everything that's going on in our world. I can stand as a single mom of an African-American man and say that I've never been to the jailhouse. I've never been to a morgue. I've never gotten that call that so many parents have gotten over the years. And that, to me, that out of everything that I've done, he has a heart for God, that I kept him in church, that I raised him under the admonition of the Lord, that I saw his talents of singing, praise, dance, and he's a gospel Christian rapper. To see that manifest, because I was obedient to the word when it tells us to raise up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart. Now, has he went up Fool's Hill a couple of times? Absolutely. Has he made some mistakes? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, to see him grow and mature into a young man, that is my biggest accomplishment.
Well, when he graduates from college, and does he write the songs? I mean, does he write the songs that he sings and all?
Yeah, he's actually been writing and he's been writing and playing with producing since he was about 12.
Well, WYTV has a new radio station, a music station, and I really would like for you to take a look at it. I'll send you a link on it, because he could possibly get his music playing on there, which would be a start for him. That would be fantastic. So yeah, I'll send
and
you.
And he's looking for an internship.
Huh?
Okay. That is all. He's also looking for an internship.
To be a start, because our music station is just really phenomenal. It just broke loose and has started going, so that would be great. In your bio, in your bio, you say the word of the Lord declares, "To whom much is given, much is required." And you said that you're so confident because God has done it. What God's done in your life, preparing you to use your life to encourage others in such a time as this. So that really says it all for what you're doing and how you're using your testimony And so I just think that's so exciting. And I want to go ahead and tell everyone, if they're just joining us, that we're on WYTV7 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and iHeartRadio. We're interviewing a phenomenal, beautiful, spirited young woman, Miss Crystal Rice from Greenville, South Carolina. So if you're just joining us, you're going to want to go back and listen to the whole interview. You will be blessed beyond compare from this interview. I guess in wrapping up, I would like to know what you want people to realize from your testimony that can encourage them in their lives. Let's wrap it up with that.
What I would want people to understand is that everybody has a purpose. Your testimony is not your testimony just because, but that your testimony links to your purpose, but you have to be in tune with what God wants you to do. And don't let the enemy try to make you feel insignificant. God doesn't make insignificant beings. God is a God of intent. He's intentional. So he made you intentionally to fulfill a purpose, and it's up to you to tap into him to find out what that purpose is.
Absolutely, and that's really a great way to bring our interview to a conclusion, because that's exactly what we all need to do. And we serve an awesome God, and God is gonna bless us if we continue to give blessings to other people. And you are a true blessing and a beautiful spirit. The name of WYTV's music station is called Renewed Radio, and
Okay.
I'd like you to take a look at that, because your son may really be interested in putting his music on there. So I think that's fantastic. They take all genres of music, and eventually I would like to interview him when he gets out of college. I'd like to interview him as a Christian.
Awesome.
And I'll give you a hint. If you're a musician and a singer, I sometimes ask you to sing a song on the air with me. So, and they'll all usually accommodate me. So I might ask him to do a little bit of rap while I interview him. So he'll like that. So, but anyway, I thank you so much, Miss Crystal, for everything you've done, for sharing some time with me today out of your busy schedule. And I just continue to pray for you to receive more and more blessings, because you've done so much. And I wish you more success, okay? So
thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. And would you like to share your contact information with everyone?
Yes, ma'am. You can reach me. My email address is N as in Nancy, NDB, New Dimension Business Services, NDBS LLC @gmail.com. You can reach me by email. You can find me on Facebook as Crystal J. Rice, Crystal like Christ with AL, middle initial J, last name Rice, and and Chris J. Mary Kay on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay, well then that's fantastic. So to our audience and to our viewers, we'll see you next time on Shine Your Light Radio Ministry with WYTV7 in Charlotte, as well as iHeartRadio. Thank you so much.